right. So we knew before we started we were going to be writing an equation that looks like this. That was the first hint that we got from one of your classmates. The second one was go ahead and graph it. Now when you have these 2 points, then we can draw a line and we can connect them, and we should have everything we need to write the equation for this line. So if I drew everything carefully with nice straight lines and I used a ruler, it's pretty easy to see all the pieces we need. Remind me, what goes in this spot that's attached to the x? Is that our y-intercept or is that our slope? That's our slope. Now let's look at this line, and can you guys tell me, is this slope going to be a positive or a negative? If I stand on the left side of this line and I start walking around along that line, am I going uphill or downhill? Uphill. So it's going to be a positive slope. And let's go ahead and count. We've got a couple nice points right here. If you're not sure what the slope is, go ahead and make yourself a slope triangle. And let's label. Counting up the side here looks like 4 spaces, and across the top here is 3. So we know it's going to be a fraction. It's going to have a 3 and a 4 in it. The question is which one goes on top and which one goes on bottom. This would be our change in y, and this is our change in x. Which goes on the top for slope? Change in y goes on the top. Slope is change in y over change in x. So our change in y was 4, our change in x was 3. And then what goes here is our y-intercept. And we can see where this graph crosses the y-axis now. It crosses at -1. So our y-intercept is 0, -1. When we put that in the equation, we just put the -1 part in. Okay. Any questions on that one? All right, folks, I need you to pay attention. We're going to do this problem one more time in the space below it. So wipe your memories clean. Pretend that we don't know what the equation of that line is. Could you guys please write just this information? Line through 3, 3 and 6, 7. I'm going to show you how we can do this without graphing it. Okay, and I need you to be able to do this because this will be on our test. Can you lose the headphones just while we're going over some stuff? It won't be for very long. Thank you. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We know we need to write an equation. Okay, we've wiped our memories clean. We can't remember exactly. Just pretend you can't see it up above there, okay? We know it's going to look like this. We know we need 2 things. We know we need a slope, and we know we need a y-intercept. By the way, please try and save half of your page here. We're going to do another problem on the other half. So let's do our work over here to find our slope. We have found slope between 2 points. You guys have done this at least a dozen times if you've been doing your assignments. How did we find a slope between 2 points? If we don't have a graph, how do we find a slope between 2 points? There's a formula, but then we also showed you this trick that a student taught me where we just stack them on top of each other. And we look at the numbers to figure out what's my change in x and my change in y, right? So what is my change in x? How do I get from 3 to 6? Change in x is 3. And what's my change in y? What gets me from a 3 to a 7? 4. So to find our slope, we just need to do change in y over change in x. What's that going to be for this? It's going to be a fraction. It's going to be positive 4 over 3. Oh my goodness, who would have expected it? It's 4 over 3, guys. Put that 4 over 3 right here. All right, do you guys remember doing that before? Finding the slope from 2 points? You're going to have a problem on your test where it's just going to ask you for the slope between 2 points. You don't have to write an equation. You just have to come up with that 4 over 3. Okay. All right, now we need to do the y-intercept. Now, this is the thing you have not seen before, so I hope you guys are going to pay very close attention. Are you with me here? Okay, I'm going to rewrite my equation. Actually, I'm going to do this. So we're going to do our y-intercept down here, right kind of small, because this is going to take a few steps. Can you guys write down the equation y equals mx plus b? Write that down on your paper, please. What is the one variable, the one letter here that we are missing in our equation? We're trying to find b, right? If I knew what b was, we'd be done, right? B is the y-intercept. So here's how we're going to find it. I would like you to rewrite this equation right underneath it, but I want you to fill in numbers for everything except for b. We don't know what b is, but we do know what all the other 3 numbers are. We know for sure what m is. What is m? M is the slope. And what's our slope? 4 over 3. All right, put 4 over 3 in the m spot. Now all I need is an x and a y. I need a number for x and y. Do you see anywhere on this screen where I have given you an x value that goes along with another y value? A number for both x and y. Do you see that? I actually see 2 places on the screen where I've given you an x and a y value. Are you guys looking where I'm looking? Here's one, and here's the other. Which one do you guys want to use? By the way, there's no wrong answer. You want to use the smaller numbers or the bigger numbers? There's no wrong answer here. You choose. Smaller? Smaller it is. Okay, I'm just going to label this x and y. Just to remind myself that the x is 3 and the y is 3. This one's kind of easy because they're both the same. So y is 3 and x is 3. And what we've got here is an equation that we can solve for b. All right, are you guys comfortable doing fractions? 4 over 3 times 3? Who's comfortable doing that? 4 over 3 times 3. No? Grab a calculator then. Get your calculators out. If you can't do it in your head or you can't do it on paper, grab a calculator. I see 3 people back there without a calculator. I'm going to ask you for one of you to give me an answer. Or else go grab a calculator and do it. 4 over 3 times 3. It is going to be 12 over 3. Yeah, so if I wanted to do it in my head, I would think of this as 3 over 1. So you're right, it would be 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 1 is 3. But what is 12 over 3? Close. 12 divided by 3? 12 divided by 3 is 4. For those using your calculator, you would just type in 4 over 3. You guys know how to use this button for fractions? The n over d button? 4 over 3 times, oops, I didn't want to put that down there. You got to move your cursor over and then do times 3. Answer comes out to be 4. If you don't have a calculator with the fraction button, that's okay. You just do 4 divided by 3 times 3. And it's 4. There are some shortcuts we could have used also. If I'm taking 4 and I'm dividing it by 3 and then multiplying it by 3, isn't dividing by 3 and multiplying by 3 just going to cancel each other out? And that would just be 4. That'd be another way to do it. However we got there, we multiplied these together and we got 4. Tell me what I'm going to do now to get b by itself. One last step and I'll have b by itself. Let me get your attention, please. One last step and I'm going to get b by itself. What am I going to do to get b by itself? Minus 4 on both sides. And now just b is left over here. B equals 3 minus 4 is negative 1. And we got it. So b is negative 1, so we come back up here and we put a minus 1 at the end, and that gives us our final answer. So this work gave us the y-intercept, and this work here gave us our slope. Do you guys have questions? No? Then please stop the side conversation. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about that? I got a question for you guys. Why would I ever do it this way when I could just graph it? Does this seem easier to you? I agree. I think this is easier too. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to give you a problem, and you can have your choice. You can either graph it, or you can do it algebraically. This is the algebraic method, okay? So in this other space right here, we left half of this because we're going to do one more problem. Could you please write down these 2 points, 60, 74, and 20, 98. So if you'd rather graph it, feel free to start counting. Count quickly, though, because you got a lot of things to count. All right, are you guys seeing my point here? Are you going to do this by graphing it? Are you really going to count out over 60 and up 74? We don't have space for that, do we? We can't do this one by graphing. That's why we got to know how to do it this way. So let's do it the way we just did a second ago. We got this. We know how to do this, right? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's stack those 2 points on top of each other to find your slope, okay? I'm going to start writing my equation down here. Y equals something, x something. All right, let's find our slope first. $60, 74, 20, 98. Figure out what your change in x and your change in y are. I think change in x is negative, isn't it? To go from 60 to 20, we'd have to subtract how much? 40? That one I can kind of do in my head. This one, it's a little early in the morning for that. I might grab a calculator and figure out what that is by subtracting them. 98 minus 74 is it 24? Now would this be a plus 24 or minus 24? I'm going from 74 to 98. Am I adding or am I subtracting? Adding, so that would be positive. So let's write our slope. I'm going to write m equals, because I don't like writing out the word slope, but m is the slope. And then which one goes on the top, the negative 40 or the 24? Which one should go on my numerator on the top? Help me out. Miles, which one goes on the top? You got it. Thank you. And negative 40 on the bottom? Wonderful. All right, we need to simplify that. Someone think of a number that goes into 24 and 40. 2 goes into both of them. Is there something bigger? We could do 2, but then I think we're going to have to do some other stuff. Does 8 go into both of them? 24 divided by 8 is 3. 40 divided by 8 is 5. And I just made my whole fraction negative because a positive divided by a negative is a negative overall. All right, I think we found our slope. Does that reduce any more? Can you think of anything that goes into both 3 and 5 other than 1? I can't either. By the way, if you weren't sure about this and you needed to use a calculator to check, Remember, you can use your calculator to do fractions. Just use this n over d button. 24 n over d, negative 40. Hit enter. It will reduce for you. And it came up with the same answer that we did. So if you're on a test and you want to use the calculator to check, there's no harm in that. That's okay. Okay. All right, so let's put a negative 3 over 5 here. We got half of our equation. How are we going to find the b value? We need our y-intercept here. How are we going to find that? This is where we're going to write our equation. Y equals mx plus b. And we're going to fill in some numbers for y, and for m, and for x, but not b because I don't know what it is yet. We already got m. It's negative 3 over 5. What do y'all want to use for x and y? Do you want to use the 60 and the 74, or do you want to use the 20 and the 98? 20 and 98? Sounds good to me. X and y. So let's make sure we get these in the right spot. It's easy to flip these because the equation's in a different order. So the 98 is y. That needs to go here. And the 20 is x. That needs to go there. All right, we're going to need to multiply that negative 3/5 times 20. Hey, who's my mental math folks in here? Let me teach you a trick for this. Some of you guys are really good at mental math. Start with the 20. Divide it by 5. What's 20 divided by 5? Now multiply that times 3. 12. It's negative 12. When you're multiplying by a fraction, you multiply by the top number and divide by the bottom number, but you can do that in any order you want. So I usually divide first, because that makes the number smaller, and then multiply. So 20 divided by 5 is 4, times negative 3 is negative 12. You can check it, type it in your calculator if you don't believe me. But it works. Oh, we are so close, my friends. We just need to get rid of that negative 12 and we'll know what b is. Do your algebra, figure out what b is, put it in this spot right here, and you're done. Are you doing minus 12 on both sides or plus 12 on both sides? 1, no. Feel free to check your work with the calculator if you need to. I think we might be, it's early in the morning, folks, so I make a lot of mental math errors when we're early in the morning. I think it's 110, but somebody check me because this would not be the first mistake of the day. Is it 110? Okay. I love that you guys are attempting the mental math. Me personally, when I get to a test, I'll try it in my head. If I can't do it quickly, I just grab the calculator and do it, especially when it's early in the morning like this. Okay, one last thing before I cut you loose here. Could you guys go back to our assignment? I had you skip the first 2 problems. We're just going to do part A together right now, okay? We're looking at number 82. Does everybody have the assignment out in front of them? If you didn't do the assignment, go ahead and copy this down because it'll be one problem that you don't have to come back and do later on. I am going to ask that we have 82A. All right, now this is not exactly like what we just did, but I think we can use what we just did to help us with this. We're writing the equation of a line, right? We know what that looks like. Go ahead and start writing your equation. It's y equals, leave a space for your slope, and you got an x, and then leave a space for our y-intercept. Do we know the y-intercept? What is it? Is 32 the y-intercept? It's not, because that's not a 0, right? If this was a 0, then it would be the y-intercept. Can I get your attention, please? Thank you. If this was a 0, then 32 would be the y-intercept, but it's not. So I don't know the y-intercept. I know the slope, though. Put the slope where it belongs. The slope is 1.5. Put that in front. I just don't know what the y-intercept is. How are we going to find it? What do you think? A minute ago, to find y-intercept, we wrote y equals mx plus b. And we put some numbers in for y and m and x. Do we have some numbers we could put in for y and m and x? Yeah? Oh, let's do that. Let's do that. Find me some numbers that I can stick in place of this y and this m and this x, and then we'll be able to solve for b, and then we'll be done. This is a pretty quick problem compared to what we just did, because we didn't have to find the slope. They already told us the slope. We just had to do the b part. This time around, we don't have any choices. There's only one x and y value in this problem, right? So we don't have as much choice this time, but it's a quicker problem because they already told us the slope. So stick that 21 and that 32 where x and y were. And you already told me the slope was 1.5. And I think I'm going to use my calculator for this. 1.5 times 21. Let me see if I can guess. Half of 21 is 10.5 plus 21 would be 31.5. Yeah, I don't trust myself though. I'm going to check it. 1.5 times 21. Yep, 31.5. Okay. So I got 32 equals 31.5 plus b. I think b is going to be a half, isn't it? I think so. I'm going to do minus 31.5 on both sides. 32 minus 31.5 is just 0.5. Cool. Put it at the end, and we're done. All right. Couple options for you. You can just give me a second. You don't have to do this, but I highly recommend that you do. In your packets, on the very last page, actually on the last 2 pages, there's some space to take some notes on how to find equations from a point and a slope. I recommend that you get this problem into this box, because that's exactly what it is. We found this equation and we did it using just a point and a slope. The point was 21, 32, and the slope was 1.5. I would recommend that you copy this work into here. And then if you would like to make another example up, create a new example, or you're going to find an example like this in your work that you're going to be doing today and Monday, you could copy that in there. I'm going to leave that up to you. These are your notes, okay? You don't have to do anything in these notes. I'm not collecting them. The smart thing to do is to have them in there so that, 4 weeks from now when we're in chapter 3 and you've got to go back and do an assignment like this, you've got an example you can use to remind you how to do it. So I'd recommend that you do that there, and then in the space over here on the last page where it says equations from 2 points, I recommend that you copy one of these 2 examples in there. Personally, I kind of like this one with the bigger numbers, but you could go with this one. Or you can just choose to leave it blank. I think that would be a terrible decision, because I guarantee you that when we come back after winter break and you're getting ready to study for your final exam, you're going to forget how to do this. So I think it would be a really good idea to put some notes in here. But that's entirely up to you. All right. Let me give you our tasks for today, your priorities for today. Number 1, finish the mid-unit review. Number 2 is to finish the practice tests. And that practice test is due on Wednesday next week. We'll be turning that in. And number 3, finish up any old assignments. I am not going to give you a new assignment today. I'm going to give you the practice test, and I want us to focus on that. Okay, so now, guys, let me get your attention here. This is not due on Monday. I'm going to see you on Monday, right? Practice test is not due on Monday. Do you think it would be a good idea to have it done before class on Monday? I do. Why would it be a good idea to have it done before class on Monday? Or at least to try everything before class on Monday? What if you get to the 5th page of the practice test and you're like, I don't know how to do this? What can you do on Monday? You could ask for help, and I can show you how to do it, right? And I can give you something else to practice to make sure you still remember how to do it on Wednesday. If you choose not to do anything over the weekend, you don't do your practice test over the weekend, you come in Monday, and you don't finish the practice test before you leave on Monday, then any questions that you still have, you're going to have to deal with on your own. I can't help you. I'm not going to see you between Monday and Wednesday. So I would recommend that you have the practice test done before Monday. If you want to, when I give you the practice test, just write at the top, due Monday. It's not. But trick yourself into getting it done over the weekend if you need to. That's the smart move to make. That's the good student move to make. My students who are shooting for A's in this class are going to have this done before they walk through the door on Monday. Okay? By the way, just so you know, I am going to give you one more assignment on Monday. So there's another reason to not procrastinate. Because if you don't do this before Monday, then you're going to have the practice test and another assignment to finish before Wednesday. Okay? Anybody have any questions? I'm going to pass out the practice test right now, but please be working on the mid-unit review. Was anybody absent last class? Anybody need a copy of that mid-unit review?